Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we sift through corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into Centrus Energy's proxy statement, but don't worry, it's not as dull as it sounds. We're going to uncover some key details from who's up for election to the board to how much the top executives are getting paid. Think of it as a behind the scenes look at the people steering this energy company. Australian states Delta Securities and Exchange. Come and scroll, this isn't just any document, it's a Schedule 14A, which is what companies use to tell their shareholders what's going to happen at the annual meeting and how they can vote. The main event is on June 20, 2025. Mark your calendars if you're a shareholder. At the meeting, there are three main things up for a vote. First, shareholders get to elect 7 directors. Second, there's an advisory vote on executive compensation, basically a thumbs up or thumbs down on how much the top folks are getting paid. And finally, there's a vote to ratify or confirm the choice of Deloitte and Tuchel as the company's independent auditors. Scroll board vote, TFQ recommendation scroll. The board is recommending that you vote for all the director nominees for approving the executive compensation and for ratifying the auditor appointment. Let's talk about the nominees for director. We have Michael H. Williams, the current chairman of the board, who's been a director since 2013. He's had a long career in various management positions. Then there's Kirkland H. Donald, a retired admiral with a strong background in nuclear propulsion, who joined the board in 2021. Tina W. Jonas brings expertise in government and the private sector, particularly in defense and aerospace. She became a director in 2020. William J. Madia has been a director since 2008 and has tons of experience in science and technology, including managing national laboratories. Stephanie O'Sullivan, a director since 2024, brings a wealth of knowledge in national intelligence and innovative technology. Ray Arofrock, also new in 2024, is a venture investor and cybersecurity expert, bringing a financial and technological perspective. And finally, there's Amir V. Vexler, the president and CEO of Centrus, who also joined the board in 2024. One director, Brad Sawatzka, is stepping down, so there will only be 7 directors elected by the Class A stockholders this year. There is also Tetsuo Iguchi, who is designated by the Class B common stock owners, and he abstains from votes involving Toshiba. Most of the director nominees are considered independent, which is important for good governance. However, the CEO is obviously not independent, and William Madia's independence is being re-evaluated because he provides services to the company. The board's nominating committee is looking for people with significant accomplishments, financial skills, government experience, and a willingness to dedicate time to the company. The company has a separate independent chairman, which they feel works well for them. Also, the board is in charge of managing risk, especially those related to the war in Ukraine, the possible sanctions, and the ban on Russian uranium. Centrus has a code of business conduct for everyone, so everyone behaves. The code also bans things like short sales and hedging your stock. There are stock ownership guidelines for executives and directors requiring them to hold a certain amount of stock. This helps align their interests with the shareholders. The board has 5 committees: executive, audit and finance, compensation, nominating and governance, technology, competition and regulatory, and the cyber risk committee, each having specific responsibilities. The audit and finance committee is in charge of the financial statements and making sure the auditors are doing their job properly. The compensation, nominating and governance committee handles executive pay and makes sure the company is following good governance practices. The Technology, Competition and Regulatory Committee keeps an eye on the company's technology, competition and compliance with regulations. The Cyber Risk Committee, which is new, oversees risks to the cybersecurity systems. The non-employee directors get paid a cash retainer and stock units for their service. The chairman of the board gets an extra fee. Looking at director compensation, Michael Williams as chairman received the most at around $308,000, while others like Kirkland Donald and Tina Jonas received around $240,000. Now let's move on to who owns the company. The directors and executive officers don't own a huge chunk of the stock individually, but altogether it's about 1% of the Class A common stock. The Vanguard Group and BlackRock are major shareholders. Time to discuss executive compensation. The goal is to pay executives fairly based on the company's performance and to align their interests with the shareholders. Centrus uses a compensation program with a pay-for-performance system. There's oversight by the compensation committee, the use of independent consultants, stock ownership guidelines, and clawback provisions to recover compensation in certain situations. In 2024, Centrus saw revenue of $442 million and a net income of $73.2 million. They had a lot of cash on hand, about 601 million DOE contract awards, and growing their backlog to 327 billion millions. The main parts of executive compensation are base salary, annual cash incentives, and long-term equity incentives. A portion of the total compensation opportunity is at risk, meaning it's tied to performance. The company looks at tax deductibility when setting executive pay, but they're willing to approve non-deductible compensation if it's in the best interest of the company. In 2024, Amir Vexler, the CEO, had a total compensation of around $3.5 million, while the other top executives' compensation ranged from about $700,000 to almost $1 million. Looking at equity, it's a significant portion of the executive compensation. Amir Vexler had unvested equity awards worth about $1.5 million at the end of 2024. The shareholders have an advisory vote on executive compensation, giving them a chance to voice their opinion on the company's pay practices. The board is recommending that you vote to approve the compensation. Finally, there's a vote to ratify Deloitte and Touche as the company's independent auditors for 2025. The board is recommending you vote for this ratification. In 2024, Deloitte and Touche billed Centrus about $1.2 million for their services. There were a couple of late filings by John Donaldson and Larry Cutlip, but otherwise everyone complied with the reporting requirements. Now, looking at Centrus overall, it seems like the company is moving in a positive direction. Financially, they're doing well with growing revenue and a strong cash position. The leadership team is experienced, but it's important to watch out for risks. One area for shareholders to observe is the executive compensations and make their own decision based on the amount overall. Centrus appears to be in a good position and is executing its strategy. That's all for today's Corporate Decoder episode. If you found this helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate filings. Thanks for watching.